Bitcoin's doing some little fluctuations, whatever. But if you look at the price of a home versus the price of Bitcoin, or when priced in Bitcoin on a 4-year time scale or more, you see that the price of that home keeps getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper when priced in Bitcoin. During the same time, if you look at it, a home priced in fiat, it's getting astronomically more expensive. Younger generations are being priced out of this housing market. Meanwhile, the boomers that bought their house for 2 pallets of raspberries back in 1970, and now it's worth $3 million. And meanwhile, it's a 50-year-old house that is completely, falling disrepair. Like, this is insane. Homes are not great investments. They're great for living in. Homes have great utility value to raise a family in, to, have a garden in your backyard, to raise animals, just to spend time in, right? To have a place that you call your own, even though you kind of rent it from the government a little bit. But that's a different conversation, right? But this, I think, is more and more people are going to realize that, look, if I want to be able to afford a home, then I need to be measuring my life in something where the home's actually getting cheaper. Because again, homes should be getting cheaper, right? If you're pricing them in sound money, and they are. That's what's happening with Bitcoin. I think that also there's, excuse me, it's great to see Bitcoin-backed loans becoming more of a reality so that people have the ability to not need to sell their Bitcoin to be able to afford a home. Like, that's great. The home is getting cheaper in Bitcoin terms, and you'll be able to take out a loan against a small amount. You can already do this. It's not you'll be able to. You can already do this through multiple products that have weathered the storms of all of the Bitcoin-backed loan schemes that blew up in the SBF era, right? Like, loans aren't necessarily a bad thing. They can be bad when you're over leveraged, when they're done poorly. But like, that's ultimately a good thing. You should be able to borrow against your Bitcoin if you want to, without needing to sell it, and also without needing to pay all the taxes on it, because that's another thing. You've got to sell your Bitcoin, pay a bunch of taxes on it, and then put that Bitcoin into a house that is going to keep losing value over Bitcoin. That's rough. By the same token, though, like, if there's anything to you should spend spending Bitcoin is good. Like, it's a good thing to do. The point of Bitcoin is not to just accumulate more Bitcoin forever. The point of Bitcoin is you can live the life that you want. Like, the point of money is not just to acquire more money. Money is good because it is a tool for getting you what you want. That's the whole point. If you're thinking that your goal is just acquire more Bitcoin, and that's the only goal I have is just to get more Bitcoin, you're missing the larger point, that the point of Bitcoin is to give you the life that you want, to give your family the life that they want, to be able to build that future for yourself that you're dreaming of. And that's possible with Bitcoin. It's extremely, extremely difficult with fiat, and basically impossible for the vast majority of young people today. So for young people who are listening to this, like, Bitcoin is your chance to build the future that you want. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's a build wealth slowly scheme. And that wealth building, accumulating Bitcoin, you are going to see that, again, as we said earlier, everything will get cheaper for you forever. Instead of being priced out of the housing market, you'll be able to get the house that you and your family have always dreamed of. And that's possible with Bitcoin. That is really, really difficult playing fiat games.
Fiat around, find out.
Yeah, I like that.
And this is the overall point of what Bitcoin promotes and what Bitcoin actually enables. I love that. I have one question that I asked each and every one of my returning guests. And the question is, what have you learned outside of Bitcoin since your last appearance?
That's a great question. I'm trying to remember the last time I was on your show, but I think it was prior to my son being born. If I'm remembering correctly, I think it was quite a while ago now. So what I've learned is that being a dad is the absolute greatest thing ever. I truly, all the cliches are true that, everybody tells you when you're about to become a parent, like, oh, you won't know until you actually are one. Then you'll finally get it. And you're like, okay, thanks for the advice. But it's really so true. It's like, I couldn't have imagined what an incredible journey this would be, how much having a son with my incredible wife would allow both of us to just have a whole new view of the world, to see it through their eyes, to see the joy and amazement that there is in seeing things and experiencing them for the first time. And also what I found is that since having a son, I've realized that I thought I had a low time preference before. I thought I had a zoomed out view of the future. Thanks to Bitcoin, I was enlightened. It turns out I had a pretty good view of the future, at a pretty good low time preference, but it's nothing compared to what I have now. Because now there is actually somebody who will outlive me by a generation and will create more generations after him. Now I care so much more about what happens after I'm gone from this world. I care so much more about the future that I'm going to build for him and for our family, for any children that we have in the future, because now it's real. It's not just some theoretical thing where I'm talking about, Austrian economics and a low time preference and da-da-da and what. No, it's real. Now I want to make sure that my family is taken care of long after I'm gone, and that I instill the values that will allow my son to take care of his family the same way. And luckily, he'll be starting from a better starting point than I have, because he'll have Bitcoin. And that's probably the best gift that you can give the next generation, is the ability to have more freedom over their time. And how lucky are we that we're alive at this time right now, where we get to raise the first generation of Bitcoin natives, of true, it's Generation B, it's Generation Bitcoin. What an incredible thing. What an amazing time to be alive. What a great opportunity we have to actually raise the next generation of people who are going to remake this world in this bright orange future that is to come. And I'm sorry if that sounds cheesy, but I'm really stoked on being a dad. Very grateful to my incredible wife. And I'm just very grateful to have a happy, healthy son who gets to be raised in a Bitcoin standard. That's an amazing thing.
I love that. Generation B, the Bitcoin native generation.
Not Generation Beta, Generation Bitcoin, because Generation Beta sounds like that's lame. You got Generation Alpha. Now Generation Beta is like, oh, you don't want to be raising a beta, but a Bitcoiner, that's all right.
Yeah. So the current generation is like the ones that are born right now is called Generation Beta, actually.
I don't know if it's actually, if it's technically beta. I actually don't know if he's on the tail end of alpha. I should probably look into that, but I'm calling him Generation B for Bitcoin. I don't care what the Census Bureau has to say.
I love that energy. Yeah, I 100% agree. But I cannot add anything as I'm not a dad. But I hear it all the time, and it's really interesting how family orientated the guests on my show are. It's something that comes up so many times that people are saying like, "Hey, Bitcoin actually promotes having kids," and it makes it so that you can actually do that, because there's there's this view of like, oh, the future will be so bad, why put kids in there? Oh, I don't have money, like all those things. I think it's total BS. And I love that Bitcoiners are kind of against that and having a different balance on that, seeing like, hey, the future is amazing. I'm very bullish on the future, and I would like to influence that future. And with Bitcoin and with a Bitcoin native generation, we have really a chance of making something great possible. And yeah, I just like the positive outlook on life, and the low time preference thing that you mentioned. That probably hits really hard if you have a low time preference. But then all of a sudden, there's a version of you out there that says like, oh yeah, he has probably like a few more decades to live than I have. That lowers your time preference right there.
It really is. It is crazy. Like, and it's amazing too, because it just gives you. I find that I have so much more of a drive to work very hard, to work with purpose, because my purpose has expanded, right? Like I wanted to be, before that, it's not like, I wanted to be a great husband, and to start a family. But now that we've started a family, it's like, okay, now like my purpose continues to expand. I have more reasons to do what I'm doing. I have more reasons to work hard to build something, but also to keep in perspective that like, it's, working hard. And again, acquiring more Bitcoin is important, but not if it's at the expense of doing what actually Bitcoin allows you to do, which is to spend more time with your loved ones, to have meaningful experiences. I don't like, you if you're still you don't want to have that fiat mentality of like, you have to, keep grinding and hustling and doing all these things at the expense of your family and loved ones. I think that's incredibly misguided. Maybe some people don't want to spend a ton of time with their family and loved ones, and so they'd rather grind. Personally, again, I work because it gives me the ability to provide for my family, but I want to, and what's most important to me is working so that I can have the time with my family, but not relinquishing that time that I have with them in the present. Because wow, if there's another thing I've learned, it's that the time goes by really fast when kids are growing, from starting from zero. It is crazy how fast it goes. And again, everyone tells you this, but the cliches are all true. It's like you blink and they've changed. And so trying to remember to be present and to have that balance between your work and your purpose in building that future, but also the purpose that you have in being there with your family. Because again, nobody's ever on their deathbed saying, I wish I'd spent just a little more time at the office. It's like, no, you wish you spent more time with your family to a man, unless you're a raging psychopath. Like you come on.
That's it. I love that. It's also, it's such an amazing thing, the regret thing, because it really, if you want to be thankful for something, imagine something being gone from your life and like, oh, how would I feel? Like, how would you feel like if your son is getting taken away or has dies all of a sudden? Like, oh shit! Like, I'm super grateful for my son.
Knock on wood right now.
Knock on wood, and it's like having that thing of being super grateful for those things that you have, and having that low down. I think it's amazing. I love that you brought that to the podcast, and thank you so much for that. As you know, we have an end routine where the previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. And the previous guest asked you the question, what's your definition of energy?
The force that powers everything around us, I guess. I've started to think of energy in different terms now, because obviously, like, energy is life, right? Like very simply, energy is life. But it also has to be energy mixed with order to create life. Like, and you know this because the universe trends toward entropy, right? It trends towards disorder. Life is actually order. It's energy harnessed, and we know this because if you cut yourself, you have a gash in your arm. That is chaos right there, right? That's cells that were split apart. That's layers of your skin that were split apart. You're bleeding. There's chaos there, right? But because you have you are alive, your body knits that skin back together. You heal. You bring order to the chaos, and that's because there is this energy involved. But energy just by itself is, I guess, just trends to, it's just entropy. But energy combined with order, that's what life is. And then I think about it from an economic perspective, which is like, energy is what we have our time and we expend our energy, right? And I've thought a lot about, again, having a son. I was like, and what do you do that for? What is the purpose of expending your time, spending your time and expending your energy? What are you doing that for? And if you're doing it for pieces of paper that a couple of central bankers can print for free, that's insane. But if you're doing it for hard money that cannot be diluted, that starts to make a little bit more sense. And if you're trying to acquire that hard money and spend that energy that you have, spend that life that you're living to work for something greater than yourself, to work for your family, to work for your community, because maybe not everyone can have a family, then that's purpose. So I would say, energy is ultimately life, but it needs to be combined with order and purpose to really create a life worth living, if that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense. And the energy debate is super interesting, because if it all burns down, it's like it all comes down to energy. And it's super interesting to think about what would you price energy in? And it's like, yeah, like Bitcoin is the obvious thing because it's directly related to energy with Bitcoin mining. And yeah, there's a social value aspect to the Bitcoin price. It's not just like how much it costs to mine it, obviously, but energy is so fundamental. And actually, Bitcoin led me down the energy rabbit hole more and more with Bitcoin mining and like how the infrastructure works and energy in general. It's super interesting. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that, not to open at the last question, another podcast episode. But I think energy is an underrated topic within the Bitcoin ecosystem. We don't talk about it enough. And Bitcoin mining is another one of those topics. If you put it in the title, nobody clicks on it. I don't know if you've noticed that, but like nobody's interested in Bitcoin mining as a topic. It's something that we have to be aware of, and the energy topic is something that we should probably talk more about. But yeah, thank you so much, Walker.
It's energy is it's the ability to do work, right? Like that at a fundamental level, and like it's crazy that it's not talked about more. I think, on the Bitcoin mining side, it's like people assume that like somehow, this electricity just magically comes out of the outlets in their walls, and they don't think about how it gets there or what it means. And it's like that. The energy rabbit hole is incredibly deep. Like it's one of those tangential rabbit holes that you go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and you see this path off to the side and it's energy. And you're like, oh, what's that? That can't be too deep. And then you go down it and you're like, oh my God, load balancing and, all these things. And you're like, oh, this is insane. But yeah, we should talk about it more because Bitcoin mining, if you're not mining Bitcoin, you're wasting energy.
Thank you for watching this video. This was only a snippet of the podcast. And if you want to watch the full episode and get all of the context of this episode, you can click right here or here. Oh, maybe also here.